Math 2, day 6 notes. We're talking about constructions, or actually reviewing this because you should have learned it last year. Okay, so who remembers, if we want to construct an angle congruent to this angle, who remembers the first thing I should do? Cathal. Okay, you're going to end up making an angle. The first thing, and let's try to make a list to kind of help us out for those of you that don't know, or that don't remember. But the first thing you'd actually do is draw a straight line. Okay, and some of you might do these things without even thinking about it. Like, you're like, oh yeah, of course you do that first. Why even write that down? Well, that's because I don't remember these things. Okay, and then we're going to mark a B here. Okay, you label, or you can mark whatever you want, but normally I label it with a point. Okay, then Cathal said you're going to make an arc. Okay, he is correct. So step 2, I'm going to say arc. Who knows how you do the arc? Where do you go? Denise. At least halfway, and it doesn't really matter. But what you're going to do is you're just going to go to your point, and it just needs to be on here. And you're going to make, you can do a full arc if you want to, but basically you want to measure this, right? Like this. So now you're going to go over here, and you need to make an arc as well with the same distance. So see how I'm making an arc on this one? It doesn't matter where you're making the arc. Okay, I made it here, and it looks like maybe I even moved it. And you're going to mark it. And then you're going to go over here, and you want to make it where you know it's going to end up being bigger than this angle. Okay, so when you're making your arc, you kind of look at this and you want to make sure it's at least bigger. Okay, and if I need to repeat myself, I can totally do that. But these should measure, the arc should be the same. Okay, so questions so far on what I did there? Step 1, draw a line. Step 2, I made an arc, and whatever arc length was from here to here, it needed to be the same arc length from here to here, and we made sure it was longer than what the angle would be. Who knows what the next step is? How do I know where to put this line? Dustin, what do you think? Exactly. Measure. I'm going to put measure distance. Now, when you're measuring a distance, you're not actually using a ruler, right? You are using your compasses. So what I mean by that, sorry, I keep turning my paper, is you take your compass and you're going to measure it from here to here. Okay, do you see how that's the distance there? You want to keep that distance, and you go over here and you go to this arc and you're going to make a little mark there. Okay? So that mark then tells me that's where I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to draw it from this X to that X. And this is where you want to use your rulers. And now I have made an angle that is the same measure. They're congruent angles. Okay. Do I need to restate anything there? So far, so good? All right. Okay. Number 2, construct an angle congruent to the angle below. So, can you guys do that one on your own? Same idea. Your turn to practice. I'll give you about a minute to try to do this on your own. Feel free to talk together if you forget a step or you're not sure. And then I'll do mine and see if it matches yours. Another thing that I'm noticing how some of you are holding your compasses. I have found that if I have my compass, if I hold it like between my fingers and like when I'm pressing, if I'm like just pressing with this and then this is where I'm moving, this shifts more. Some of you are kind of going like this and doing it up and down. It's better if you have it like at an angle and then like lightly press on your paper. So I'm pressing hard on this point, okay? But then it's lighter on the pencil part. So again, like I'm pressing hard here, but then lightly I can kind of turn it. And if you're not pressing on the pencil part, it moves it less. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah. Okay. Is that, I don't even know if I'm helpful or not. Thank you. Okay, so what you should have done is drawn a line. Okay, next step is to do what? What? Make an arc. So, does it matter what size arc? No, the arc does not matter. All you want to do is whatever arc you make on this one, you want to make sure that you have a similar arc on your next one. And normally what I'll do is kind of make an X where my starting point is. Okay? So, when you are drawing this though, see how this one is a much wider angle or larger angle? You want to make sure that your arc is at least as wide as your angle or wider than your angle. Okay. So now I've made that arc. Next step is to do what? Good, measure your distance. So I take my compass and I'm going from this point right here, right, to this point right here. Okay, so I've measured that distance with my compass. Now that I have that, what do? We go over here, you put a point on your end point over here, right here, and then you're gonna make like a little mark on your arc, because I measured this arc here, so I'm going here and measuring this arc. So this now, and you can make this into an X or something if you want to, is where I will draw my line from my end point here to there. And now I've made my angle. And mine looks a little off, and it could look slightly off based on the compasses, okay? But you're getting we get the right idea, right? And if we had good compasses, they would be perfect. Okay, number 3. Or do we have questions? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. Are we all okay? All right, who remembers how to construct a segment that's congruent to CD? Okay, Cathal.
You start at the point, you're telling me how to do it?
Yeah, tell me how to do it.
You start with hitting a point.
Okay, so first you drew a line, right? You did a point first? Okay, normally I would draw a line. You want to make sure your line is bigger than the line you're trying to copy. Okay? And then Cathal said, make a point on that line. So let's make a point. We could label that A. Okay. Now, what do I do next, Cathal? Oh, wait. Hold on. I'm going to put step 1. Draw line bigger. Is it okay if I just write it like that? Yeah? Bigger than, or we can do bigger than original. Okay, step 2, make a point. Okay, next.
Measure the distance distance of the...
Good. Now, I'm not measuring the distance with a ruler. I'm measuring the distance with my compass. So we are measuring from D to C here. Okay? So step 3 is to measure distance. Okay? And then what?
Put an arc on the line.
Very good. You're just going to put an arc on the line. Basically, you're measuring now from here, from this X, and we're making that. And so this is my end point, and we'll label that B. Oops, and you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so I did my arc. I measured this here, so then I measured it here, and I was able to make that little arc to put that line. So measure distance, and then make arc. And it's just a little small piece to tell you where to go. All right, can you guys do the same thing on 4? Your turn to try it on your own. So, in fact, I think they meant like, let's do construct segment AB, the length of EF. So, basically, you could make this any line that you want, okay? Okay, I can't tell if some of you are working ahead or still working, but first step, what's the first step I'm going to do on this one? Very good, make a line. So make sure it's bigger than the original one. Next step. Make a point, and I'm going to label it A since I said let's make it segment AB. Okay. Next what? Measure my distance. Okay, so we try to be as accurate as we can. And then from there, what do I do once I measure my distance? Make an arc. So this is where my point is. And it's like I have to go around to the other side so that I don't move the paper. Wait a second, here we go. So there's my arc, and then that should be the correct distance. And we will label this as B. Questions? We're good? Okay, number 5. What is an angle bisector? Good. Bisector means cuts in half. Okay? Who thinks they remember how to do an angle bisector? What? Chloe. Okay, we're going to do one step at a time. You are amazing. Okay, so step 1. 1. Make an arc. Okay, so does it matter the distance on the arc? Actually, it does. It needs to be like at least, oh wait, this part doesn't matter. Okay, just kidding. All right, so we start at point G, and it doesn't matter your distance right now, and so I have G right here, and I'm going to make an arc here, and I have to turn the paper, sorry, and here. Now, could you go the whole way around? You can. Either way, or you just have to make a line here and a line here. Okay, so that's step 1. What is step 2? So I'm going to start from here and here, or one of them, right? Okay. And what am I going to do? Make another arc. It has to be more than halfway though, right? So what we're talking about is more than halfway is that you're going to make another arc. And so looking at this line, see how like this would be about half or less than half? You want to make sure that it's more than half. Okay? So 2 arc from points more than half. Hopefully what I'm writing makes sense. If it doesn't, you can do more words. Okay, so here's this. I know this will be more than half, and you're going to make an arc. You want it to go so it's making at least a half circle. Okay? And then we go, so do you guys see that? So I went here, more than half, made an arc. Keep the same distance, and you go to the other point and make another arc more, and do you guys see how it's crossing there? And so now in order to do your angle bisector, you go through each of these intersections, and this gives you your angle bisector. Okay, you guys ready to try the other one on your own? Not yet? You're still working on that one? Does anybody need me to come around and help them? Okay. So if you're done with 5, try to do 6 on your own. If you need help, I'm going to walk around here for a minute. Okay, and maybe I might have explained this one wrong. I don't know. But, okay, you know how we made this arc? When you're going here, it doesn't have to be the same distance as it was here, right? You just want it to be more than halfway through the middle. And so when you go to this point, this can be any distance here. Okay, so like let's say I make it this distance, and I'm going to make an arc. Okay, and then you have to keep it that same distance, and I make another arc. Do you see how that line is still going through at the same point? So when you're making that, you just want to make sure that from here to here, that it's more than halfway through. Okay, and then it should line up. Anybody else need help with this one? Okay, so I'm going to go to 6. Okay, we can make an arc at any distance, right, on here. And sometimes I find that if I just hold it and move my paper, that's also easier too. Sometimes just turning my paper. So I have that, and we can kind of mark these sides. Okay, so now when I'm trying to do my angle bisector, where do I go from here? So we go from those points we made, right? So these points that I just made, and we want to make sure it's more than halfway through. So right now, does that look like more than halfway? Yes. It might be, but to be accurate, I might want to make sure it's really a little bit more big. More. Yes, bigger. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll do an arc from here. And then we'll go over here and do an arc from, oops. Make sure you're keeping the same distance now once you did that one. And see how it has that point right there? So this point right here goes through H, and that makes my angle bisector. Okay. Question? Do you guys want a minute to finish this one? Okay. Construct a perpendicular bisector to JH. Okay, who thinks they know how to construct a perpendicular bisector? Okay, thank you, Francisco. What did you do first?
So you do you go a little past the middle with the compass.
Okay, so if you need to make these as like points here at the end, okay, so these are our points, and you can tell when you have like, you want to make sure it's more than half. So this looks similar to half. I want to make sure I'm going more than half. Okay, so we're making an arc more than half, right? Is that right, Francisco?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go here at J. I'm going to have to maybe move my paper, but I know this is more than half, and so I'm making an arc, and you want to go high, okay? You want to make it like where you're almost making a full half circle, because you're going to find the points of intersection at the top. So whatever distance I did on one side when I made this arc, I have to go to K on the other side and make that same arc. And do you guys see how they're intersecting at the top and the bottom? So make an arc more than half from both points. Okay? And then you're able to draw your line. This is a perpendicular bisector. Oops. What does perpendicular mean? Do you guys remember? Perpendicular, it makes 90-degree angles. And what does bisector mean? We just said this one. Very good. Cuts in half. Okay, so this one they wanted to specifically go through P. Okay, what are we going to do? Okay, so same thing, right? So you can, what do you think we should do? Where are you going to create an arc from? M to P or M past P? So again, we can make like, actually I don't know. Okay, so if I mark M, I need to make sure I go past P, make an arc. I also need to measure, because right here I don't know this distance, so I'm gonna have to come back to this. You should have marked an M. Sorry, let me go back up here. So make a point for M and mark it, and then you're gonna wanna do the same thing on the other side, where you have a mark that's gonna measure that. Okay, Then once you go past the point, so we made an arc from M past P. This was my arc. Go to your other side, and you're going to keep the same distance and draw your other arc. And then you're going to connect your line through those points. Okay, any questions? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop here for now.